I'm kind of the opinion now that a lot of parents really misrepresent their children to themselves. Like, and this happens in partnerships too, in like friendships, but essentially, a lot of people are unaware of how they think. And because of that, they don't realize a lot of time what they're doing to other people are just the toxic habits that they've learned from being in America or living wherever the hell they are, whatever culture they're in, Islam, Christian, Hindu, American, Black American, White American, Italian American. So many different cultures, but a lot of them have very similar distortions, right? And one of the main distortions that I've been talking about for the last three videos is the distortion of equal exchange. Like when equal exchange is violated and it's turned into superiority and inferiority, then it creates a very big rift within the child that's learning this through the culture, right? Because the child can no longer just come to their parent and express openly. Now they have to kind of go through a sort of buffer. You know what I mean? And that buffer creates a lot of problems for the child. So let's explain this a little bit more. So the first downside that comes from this buffer is that you become a very chronic overthinker because instead of just being in the moment and like energy comes in, you express it out, you like instead of conversations feeling light and easy, they feel like life or death because the person that feels like they're superior feels like they have this right to punish you, right? And what punishment does is that it forces your system into being dysregulated, right? And so it's like if you want to interact with this person that feels that they have this right to punish you, then you have to come at them with a lot of caution, right? You feel like you have to over process everything before you can give it to them. Essentially, you turn yourself into a canned good, ironically, because canned goods are very processed goods. They've gone through a very deep process to make sure they can last very long. And so that's what you're doing to yourself. You're over processing yourself. And so when you're expressing yourself to this person, you're not expressing authentically. You're expressing your reaction to your reaction. You know what I mean? You're reacting to them in your brain, and then you're reacting to that reaction and then expressing that reaction. So it turns you into like this kind of like pressure heater, right? This pressure cooker. You become very emotionally and mentally constipated. That's the second thing. Because you're no longer expressing yourself authentically. You know what I mean? You're not expressing yourself in the moment. And so instead of like expressing it, you are just holding it. You're holding and processing it, and then you're pushing out a tiny portion of that thing that you absorbed. So your parent might be very angry at you, but you know for a fact you can't be angry at this person because they'll get violent. And so what you'll do is that you'll absorb their anger, you'll feel it, you'll feel how intense it is, and instead of just expressing that anger back at them, what you'll do is that you'll actually express a whole different emotion, or you might alchemize it into something else. But a piece of that anger stays within you, and that can build into trauma later on in life, right? Where it becomes a sort of distorted pattern in your life, where you just find yourself getting angry at certain things or feeling really righteously angry at certain things because this is like something that was stored in your psyche from very young. So there's also other problems that can kind of come up. Another one is that you might feel very isolated from people because you're not exchanging with them on an equal level. But I hope you're kind of seeing what I'm really saying here, that when you don't exchange energy, conversation, vibes with people on an equal footing with no threats, when you don't do that for a long time, it really distorts your way of perceiving and receiving energy. And it turns you into a nervous wreck that can't really function in their own energy because they become chronically scared of other people. And this can manifest as agoraphobia, this can manifest as like extreme social anxiety, this can manifest as a feeling of isolation from the world. It can manifest as depression. It can manifest as just like this mental fog that will never go away. It can manifest in so many different ways. So when you're trying to release this energy, what you have to recognize is that you deserve to interact with everyone on equal level footing, right? Because even being above them isn't worth it. That takes a lot of pressure to like really be above someone. So being on equal footing is actually a more natural and easy and convenient way to be. But there's a lot of people who are invested in feeling like they're better than you because that supports their ego, and they are very unconscious, and they're very, to be quite frank, kind of stupid. They don't really understand anything. They don't have, because if you're kind of stupid if you're not using your mental capacity to actually live a life that's as freeing as it can be. You're living a life that's less than your capacity to be free. you know, and you call that freedom, like you're suffering every single night. You're like going to sleep crying. You're depressed. You think you're free? Like that's not freedom. That's just like especially these people are rich or have material wealth. You're just free on the physical world, but you're trapped in your own bodies. What's even the point? So this is kind of what I'm trying to get at here. In order to solve this problem, you have to recognize you are supposed to meet people on the equal footing, which means you have to let go of the narrative that says that you have something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Like what's wrong is the world you've been born into. This world where people feel like they have the right to be above you. That's bullshit. Even as a child, you should have been talking to your parents on equal footing, you know? And I don't mean necessarily like calling shots, being in command and all that. I just mean being able to express on the same level. You know what I mean? And obviously different circumstances breed different kinds of people, right? Like if you have to cover your mouth because there's like people literally hunting you and your family, then yeah, things are going to be a little differently, you know what I mean? But this applies to people that it applies to, right? Because there's certain people out here who are literally like conditioning themselves to not express themselves around like their boss, their coworkers, their friends, their family. Not because, I mean, and they might be adults now, but they feel like they can't really express themselves because during their childhood they could never do that. But now as an adult, I think if any time is the time, now is the time. You have the right now to speak up and be like, you like this but you don't like that, you like this but you don't like that, you want to go here, you don't want to go there, you know, you have the right to do that now. And if anyone says that you don't, then it's bullshit. Literally, the only reason they might feel like they have the right to tell you that you can't do that is because they made an agreement with someone else, and they feel like them having a fair and honest agreement means you fulfilling the thing that the other person said you're supposed to fulfill. So like, if I made an agreement with you, and I said like, hey, you climb this mountain, I give you $1,000. You know, you climb the mountain, now you come back, you're like, where's my $1,000, right? And what if I told you that in order to get this $1,000, you have to give birth to children and basically command them around, and then you get the $1,000. So you see, people become very entitled into getting that thing that they feel like they're owed because they have one invested so much energy into it, and two, they think that just because someone said that you as their child will pay them back, that you have to pay them back as their child. No, you don't. They got scammed, and that's the truth. Though a lot of parents got scammed, and I think that you don't have to suffer as a result of them being scammed. You don't have to hold on to that energy. You can move on. You can live your life a completely different way. So I hope this video was helpful. If you want to see like your own energy world, like get into that yourself, I can help you with that with a subconscious clarity reading or an inner work clarity reading if you want to call it that. But essentially what it is a type of energy reading where I go into your energy and I help you see these things very clearly, right? I call them out. It's like live shadow work, but I'm doing it for you so that you don't have to go through the process of working through all that mental fog. I can just call it out, you know what I mean? And then you can have it instead of having to do all that work. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out. But if not, peace.